The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Welcome in, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Philos-o-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 37.
37, wow. That's a big number.
It is. What is the title of this one?
This is 2020.
It is. And we hope so far everybody's been having good holidays, just to throw that out there.
Yes.
But cool, good topic.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of go with it with this one. I'll explain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we jump into this one, you got anything from last episode?
Yes, I do. Last episode was kindness. I loved that episode, and we did get some good response from it. And this came in through my website, actually. It says, a few months ago, I was standing in line at a grocery store, and there was an older couple in front of me. And when it was time for them to pay, their card was declined. Sorry, I lost my place. I felt so bad for them. I heard in my head, pay for their groceries. So I did. I didn't expect anything in return. The couple was so thankful. We exchanged numbers, and a couple of weeks later, they called me. We decided to get together for dinner. When I asked where we should meet, they suggested my dad's favorite restaurant. My dad died a little over a year ago. I haven't been able to go there since he died. I feel like this was his way of saying to me that he was proud of what I did and that I should go to the restaurant with them. That's exactly what I did. The couple ended up paying for my dinner that night. I didn't want them to, but they insisted. I'm so thankful I listened to that little voice, who I now believe was my dad. Just from doing a kind deed, I made some new friends, and I got to have dinner at my dad's favorite restaurant again, Marcy.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, what are the odds
like
that they're going to call out, you know, your father's favorite restaurant?
Right?
That's a cool story.
Isn't it? I thought so too.
Well, good for you, Marcy.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Marcy. I love those. I really feel like when you have that little tap on your shoulder to do something, don't question it. Just do it, because you never know what might come out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. And she made new friends.
Exactly.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. That's nice to hear stories like that.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So that's all I have from last week.
All right. Well, shall we hop on into episode 37?
Let's do it.
And this is 2020.
Yeah.
But we are not Barbara Wawa.
No, we're not. And if you're young, you have no idea what we're talking about. We said that in front of Marina, and she was like, what? Who's Barbara Walters? So sorry if we're uncool. So when I got the idea for this episode, like always, I didn't really know where I was going with this. I felt like we needed to talk about going into the new decade with a clean slate and letting things go and how to do that. And as usual, I totally question myself on everything. And you asked me earlier, you were like, what's this episode about? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I have 4 pages. I don't remember what I wrote.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we're going to talk about.
All right.
This happens when we do these a lot of times. I don't really talk about it, but I believe that when we do these, we're channeled sometimes. That other, like my mom might just talk through me. I believe that. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times I will get really, really nervous and like, what am I talking about?
Right.
This doesn't make any sense. Nobody's going to understand what I'm talking about.
Right. Or I need to listen as much to what I'm saying as anybody else.
Right, exactly.
Like I'm speaking to myself.
Like, how can I say these things when I don't even follow them myself, you know? Right. So I know that they talk through us a lot. And so I have a feeling that that's going to be a lot of this episode. So we will see. And
maybe
I also...
it'll be fun.
I think so. And I feel like there'll be a lot of stories and examples in here because we're talking about moving on to a new decade, really.
Right.
So let's see. So like I said, we are moving into a new decade, not just a new year. And when I started thinking about this. I was thinking about how quickly life changes. And for example, like I'm 42 years old. And if I look back 10 years and I was 32, I was living in a different state. I was married to somebody else. I had 2 different dogs than I have right now. My grandma was alive. My grandfather was alive. There is so much that has happened in those 10 years. And why is that important? Well, for a lot of reasons. But first of all, I think one of the traps that we fall into is that things they're not going as quickly as we want them to. Things aren't moving fast enough. Things aren't going to change. When I do readings, I hear a lot from people, this is taking too long. Yeah. Or I can't handle this for another day. And, when you're smack dab in the middle of something, it's so completely different than when you're looking back at it from 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Retrospect always, or hindsight,
Yeah.
is always an amazing viewfinder, if you will. I don't know.
It is, yeah.
You can really see it clearly. You can't see it when you're amidst it all the time, but you could see it at that point.
Absolutely. It's like going through a divorce, for example, because that was what started the decade for me, basically, was going through a divorce and taking care of my grandma. That was very, very difficult. It was one of the hardest things I've been through. But I look back at it now and I realized that it had to happen. It was meant to happen the way that it did for everybody involved. Mm-hmm. It was just the chain of events.
Yeah.
And as much as it sucked in the middle of it, I don't really remember a lot of it at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get to a point where something is so far removed from you that you don't even remember a lot of the details on it. Mm-hmm. And so when I do readings and I talk to people about these things, I try to remind them that even though you're smack dab in the middle of it right now, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be this way.
Right.
It's going to get better. It's going to change. Mm-hmm. It's going to get better. It's going to get worse. It's going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, because time brings distance and distance brings perspective.
It really does.
That you need to get away from something, with time and distance in order to get a better view of what took place there. Because it is often hard to see it when it's going on. Is there an end to this? Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing?
Right. And the thing is that just because that part of my life is over doesn't mean that I'm not going to experience something else down the line that's going to be just as hard. And
True.
And we all have.
Yeah.
So it's like we get sucked into these traps when we have these things going on in our lives. We get sucked into like, it's never going to get better. It's never going to change. And it does. And I think that that's a part of what this is about, is really like letting go of that.
Yeah.
Getting rid of anything that's happened. I mean, we should let go of things anyways, no matter what decade they happened in. I'm not telling you just get rid of the last 10 years. No, whatever baggage you're holding on to, it's great to let it go and move into the decade, with a clean slate, or try to. I mean, it's not easy. I'm not saying you can just drop your feelings, but
right.
It's what good is it doing you carrying all this stuff around?
But the truth of the matter, it is a choice. And any time that I've chosen to do that in my life, take something and decide not to carry the burden anymore, once I get that time and distance away from it, the perspective, I can see how important it was to do that.
Absolutely. We were talking about this the other night, about the relationships that we had in between our first marriage and getting married to each other, and how from every one we learned something. And those lessons were very important. And I think those lessons taught us better, not just what we wanted out of our relationship, but what not to do, maybe. Like, you learn those lessons, you don't do that again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Trying to not repeat.
So even though, like, it may feel like you're not finding the right person, or, I deal with that a lot, that people want to stay with this one person because they feel like that's where their history is or whatever. There's a lot else out there. There really is. I'm not saying, leave, but what I'm saying is there's lessons to be had. And
Right.
you're going to learn them one way or another, and it's okay. And, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn lessons.
There isn't like a switch often to just do that.
No.
But you'll see as you look back how you made your mind up. You finally made a conscious choice to do something to better yourself.
Right.
And really, realistically, how easy that was. It was literally just making up your mind.
That's right. And I tell people that I do readings for a lot because they're like, I don't know how to let go of it. And it really is just about that with whatever it is. I'm not talking just relationships. I'm talking about a job or something, anything that's dragging you down. Just saying, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But then, of course, you have to have that willpower to do that. That's where the effort comes in. It's not like you just go, I'm not, going to worry about this anymore. But you have to take that conscious effort of when your mind goes to that place of changing it.
Right. That's that common story of people's New Year's resolutions and I'm going to do this, this, and this to better myself. And then you get caught up in your life and the world and all of a sudden you don't keep that promise to yourself.
Right. Exactly. I asked our listeners how many of them feel that the last 10 years has been a major change or just like minor changes. 95% said that they went through major changes within the last 10 years. And I really think that that's probably average because we've all probably lost people and had, lost jobs or whatever. There's major change. And that's just the way that life goes. And that's, And then I started thinking about what hasn't changed in the last 10 years for me. What have I brought along with me in the last 10 years? And one of the things is memories. And one of the things that's the most important to me is like, I'm not a stuff person. I don't like, everybody wants to have nice things, but I don't collect stuff. I collect memories.
Right.
I like to go places. I like to do things. And I realized when I wrote this list just how important that is because that is really one of the only things that I'm taking with me out of these past 10 years.
That's the only thing we take with us, period.
Yeah, exactly. Really, looking back, that's true. The other thing is family. And family is very complicated. It's very complicated. So it's hard to think about, well, maybe that's a positive that you're taking that along with you all the time. But I try to look at it as these people that are my family, they're also my soul family, and they're the people that I'm going to spend eternity with probably, because when you're reincarnated, you're usually reincarnated with similar people. So I don't know. For me, I don't have a lot of family left, but the ones that I do have, I try to, remember that they are a blessing.
Yeah.
They are consistent, and I'm not just talking about blood family.
Right.
Even
Even the ones that you maybe don't click with as much, they still have a path and a purpose.
Right.
Whether they're on it or just trying to figure it out like the rest of us.
Right.
Exactly. We all have a place here, and it's not by accident.
That's exactly right, for sure. So then I started getting into, okay, so what is the reason for this episode? And what I got the most out of it was this episode is to empower people. It's to show you that even though, because we can sit here and personally tell you that over the last 10 years, we have been to hell and back. We both have. And we can sit here and tell you that we have come back from that and that we've gone through more and we've come back from that. And so we're supposed to empower people to find that it's okay to make these changes in your life and to feel safe to move on and let go of things, so to speak.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking about, okay, so what was the biggest change for me then? And you know what I came up with? It was change within myself, really. It wasn't all of these things. It was who I was, who I became over the last 10 years. Because a lot of people say that people don't change. I don't believe that anymore. I used to believe that.
Right.
I definitely used to believe that.
Right. I mean, there's some people that don't, and there's some people that do.
Yes.
And I've seen examples of both in my life.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. You have to want to make that effort to change. You're not just going to change, and you can change negatively or positively,
Absolutely.
But like looking back to the beginning of this decade, I really had I had no ambition. Like I said, I was 32. I had no ambition. I had my own business, but I had no goals or dreams. I felt like I was stuck. I felt like I was destined to live this life of a pet sitter that worked 7 days a week, and that was it. And I wanted so much more for my life, but I didn't think that it was possible to do that, because when you're stuck in that everyday thing, you don't see a way out. But whatever it is, whether it's a job or it's a relationship or it's financial, there's always a way out. There really is. And I think that this episode is good to point that out, because like I said, at the beginning of the decade, I really had no ambition. And here I am going into this decade with so much ambition, and so much has changed. And by taking steps to better my life and to better myself, I have completed some things in my life that I never, ever thought that I would do.
Right.
From taking those steps. It is important to, move on. Sorry, he's got a little bit of a cold.
Little cold,
my
sorry.
poor husband.
I apologize.
Yeah. So let's see. So then I made a little bit of a list, okay, just to kind of show what all I have accomplished, things that I've done that I never even thought I could do. For example, I have a huge Disney fetish, okay? So I actually, and these are things that I manifested too. I actually got to the point where I was doing tours at Disneyland, and I danced in a parade down Main Street, and I went to Club 33, which was on the top of my list of things to do.
Yep.
But going into the decade, I was like, okay, this is it. This is life. This is how it goes. And something pushed me to move on. Something pushed me in this direction. And I feel like that is a natural kind of push for all of us, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that the universe, when you feel that little bit of a push, whether it's with career or, like I said, family, whatever it is, travel, that kind of thing, when you feel that push, that you should take it. I mean, you've been there. You were there with your career for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think what you're saying is if you're sitting there at your job and hating it and
No.
and want to take a vacation, do it now.
Right.
It's not that simple.
No, definitely not. You have to work.
But yeah, we all have to put in, our time and work towards something. But yes, I definitely, even before I had left my last job, I was feeling that. I'm ignoring what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I would try to jump full force into this,
Yeah.
I'm a company man, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I knew for me that wasn't my truth.
Right.
And so I think maybe it even probably started to show.
Yeah.
I got other things I got to do.
Absolutely.
And so strange events happen sometimes, enable things to occur for people, and that was one of those situations. And I'm fortunate.
Yes.
I'm fortunate that I was shown a different path, and looked at my skill set and what I have to offer in this life, and said, why don't I focus on that instead of trying to be something I'm really not?
Right. I believe that, I say often that I wish that I could go back and kind of change the past. But I believe that all of these things that we've experienced over the years has been the way it's supposed to be. It has set us off for everybody. I'm not just talking about us. It has set us off on the path that we're supposed to be on. However, at any point in that path, you can use your free will to change the direction that things are going.
Oh, sure.
So your life doesn't always go in the direction that maybe the universe is pushing it to go.
Right.
But I can see now, looking back, that everything that's happened, once I started listening to the universe, which was about 10 years ago, everything that's happened along the way has made sense. It has all fit together like a puzzle. Now, before that, I can't say the same. And that's what's so weird is I do feel like there are things that fit together. Like you see, you know, if you didn't meet this person, you wouldn't meet this person. If you didn't have a job, you wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But for me, everything started fitting into line once I started listening to the universe and letting it take control. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I really didn't.
Right.
And I don't think that you knew that that's what you were doing either.
No, I think it kind of felt like I was being forced out of a hole that I really didn't want to leave in a strange way. Almost like part of me was bracing myself like, no, I don't want to. It was like, I don't want to call it a rebirth, but it was transformation.
It was.
It was indeed an awakening of going on to different levels, not just spiritually, but like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Like, when all's said and done, what do you want to be shared about you? You know, or, you know, what do you want to leave your kid and your wife? And those kind of things started meaning more to me than, like, you know, the best benefits and
Right.
401k and
Yeah.
and you know, that stuff is great, but it didn't fit for me.
Right.
It wasn't what was important.
No. And it's funny how we've been pushed down that road. And I think that there's a lot of people that would probably not make the same kind of risks that we've made. And I think that's where we come in as empowering too. And I love to, like, you know, motivational speak, that kind of thing, because we took blind leaps of faith here and went into new careers, both going, are we crazy? And maybe we still are. I don't think so. I think everything is paying off for us very well, but we have had
so
to,
far.
Yeah, we have had to make some changes and take a lot of risks in the process. And like Danny said, we're not suggesting you go out and quit your job by any means.
No.
But if you have a passion and something that you want to follow, don't push it down.
Right.
Okay, I can't say you only have this life, because you don't. We have many lives. But you only get one chance at this life. And if in this life, like my husband here, you are wonderful at music and art, do your music and art. I'm not saying you can do it. Everybody can do it for a living.
Yeah, don't starve.
Right. No, don't starve.
Don't live on the streets.
No.
But
Don't.
if you feel a calling or you're compelled,
Right.
start investigating that avenue, that way, to get you out of a situation that maybe you are unhappy in, you know. But you got to look at your motives and your reasons.
Right.
You can apply that to just about anything. But yeah, really, I thought, well, what do I want to leave my family when I'm gone? Do I want to leave them? Look at this finely packed bag of groceries. Like, you couldn't have. It was engineering at its best.
Oh,
no,
come on. You're not giving yourself enough credit there.
I don't.
But
I don't really want to leave that. But
No,
I was like,
it's not
but could I leave a song?
right.
Could I leave a painting? Could I possibly leave a business behind
Right.
that could be handed down as a result of the time I spent building this?
Right.
Very much so.
Absolutely. For me, it's been a little bit different because I have a career. I'm a pet sitter, but I really don't want to do that anymore. And I felt that way for a long time. It's too time consuming. I work 7 days a week. I want to be able to take vacations and have more of a life with my family. And it's something that I've been asking for. And I've felt like I need it right now. I want to quit pet sitting right now and move on to something else. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And there were so many times, how many times you hear me say this, it's not coming, it's not working, you know. And like my mom, she even talked through a medium to me and said, you know, don't worry about when. It will happen. Don't worry about when. Just work on it. And so I'm still pet sitting at this point, but I have stopped taking on new clients because now, as far as the psychic work goes, I do make enough of an income to stop doing that. It took time, and it's taking time. It's a process. I can't just quit pet sitting. I can't, you know, leave that behind. But that's my goal.
Right.
To eventually not do pet sitting anymore. And I think that that's where a lot of people get hooked up, is that they want from one to the other right now. I'm one of them. I was in the same place, and I realize now it can't happen like that. It has to happen slowly.
Yeah.
So if you're in one of those situations, because I really do feel like this episode is talking to people, that there's people that are going to be like, "Ooh, I get that's for me. That's for me. That's for me." If you feel like you're stuck in that you want to make a change from like one career to the next, but you can't make that quick jump, just take your time with it.
Right.
Whatever it may be, you know, every career is different. So I can't.
Every person's different. And sometimes too much change too quick is too much for somebody. And sometimes it's not for the other. And that's okay. As long as you're listening to that voice that's telling you while you're sitting there doing the thing that you don't want to be doing or being somewhere you don't want to be, there's a way.
Right.
There's another way. Don't feel like this is it. This is the end all be all to your existence. There's always another way.
Right.
You have to put the effort and the work into it, but you also have to believe.
Yes.
And without belief, you know, your energy in that belief and combined with your footwork and what you're putting into it, is what makes it happen.
Right.
So I remember when I was, I've always been musical. And then when we kind of hit this spiritual awakening a couple years ago, I was musical as always. But they told me through Samantha, you're kind of veering off. Like you should be doing this.
Right.
Which they were saying art. Like, why aren't you doing your art?
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know, like I was always so music oriented once I got introduced to playing music.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was very much more for the art.
Right.
Music kind of became the first love, and maybe art took backseat a little bit. But once I started seeing that and then like looking at, my Instagram and, oh, okay, I got one up there. Okay, now I got 2, 3. And before I know it, like I'm having to scroll.
Yeah.
Like with my thumb, and every time I scroll, it's a reminder of what I'm building.
Right. How far you've come.
What I'm doing. And so every time I listen to our rehearsals for practice, I'm reminded of, and I can hear it through the years now starting to grow, to change, evolve, become its own entity, its own thing.
Right.
And that's part of the building process.
Right.
So, but I'm believing, and the more that I believe, the more they hand me exactly what I was looking for.
Right. And I know for me, and I think as well as you, as a part of that transition was also about self-esteem. Like looking at your art, you didn't see it the way that people see it. You see it because you're the artist. Just like me with my psychic abilities, I see it like, okay, I'm just a mediocre psychic, whatever, where you probably look at it the same way. And then what happens is you don't want to share that gift because you don't want somebody to think that your gift is just mediocre.
Right.
But the thing is your gift for art and music, those are not mediocre at all. And there's a million people that would love to have your abilities just like mine. So we're holding ourselves back. And when I say ourselves, I'm talking about most people do this. You hold yourselves back because you're so afraid of what other people are going to think and that you're not the best at it. And you have to be the best at it.
It's always going to be somebody better.
Always going to be somebody better.
Even if, I'm okay with being mediocre. I don't think I'm a virtuoso in musicianship, and I don't think I'm the best artist in the world. It's still a gift.
Exactly.
So instead of stifle it and hide it or make it secondary, what if I actually focused on it as primary? Then you start to think like wonderful thoughts of like, whoa, what if the possibility of actually being happy doing this?
Right.
Why do I have to bag groceries?
Why do I have to work for the man? I've always been the type of person that didn't want to work for the man. Right. I've always been about
I always admired that about you, yeah.
I had my own business, and I'll tell you that for me, the the confidence did not come easy, because when I first started my first pet sitting business in 2000 in Las Vegas, people didn't, it was new. It wasn't something that you heard about. Here, now it's like a regular thing.
Right.
But back then, people were like, you can't make money at pet sitting. Are you crazy? I actually had one of my close friends that said that. You're not going to make money doing this. And you know what? A few years later, she opened her own pet sitting business. So don't listen to what other people have to say. For me, I'm the type of person that if you tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to do it because I know that I can do whatever I want. That's what this life is about. You don't let other people stifle you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, if people have negative attitudes or, that's them. And people say stuff like that out of jealousy, too. That makes me crazy. They don't want to see you go far because they're not going far with their life. If we could all let go of that and empower somebody to do something with their life,
There's
imagine.
so many stories about that, like how people have chose not to listen to that, I mean, I'm going to take, for example, President Obama. How many times maybe that guy was told he'll never be president solely because he's black?
Right.
And had he listened to that,
yep,
he would have never become president.
Right.
You see guys like Frank Sinatra, some of these old performers, and if you would have told them, hey, guess what? In 50 years, you're going to have guys on the fronts of records with tattoos all over their faces.
Yeah.
And it's going to be acceptable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's possible.
Right.
It's all possible. So did somebody tell those artists, you're never going to make it because you got tattoos all over your face?
Probably somebody. But
Guess
they
what?
sure did. Yeah, exactly.
So with the power of the mind and the willpower, if it's for good, to follow that path, that dream, it's possible.
You said it right there. It's the power of the mind. It's nothing more than that. It's you have to have that willpower and you have to push yourself. And that's really all that it is. Of course, we all can't, go out, like you said, and start traveling and do all these things right now. But you take baby steps, whatever it is that you want to do, you take baby steps to do it. And before you know it, you look back and you've made so much progress in whatever situation.
Right.
I mean, if I look back 2 years ago, when I didn't even know that I had psychic ability, and then I look at how I've grown over the last 2 years, and there were so many points that I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard.
Right.
And now it's just become a part of our lives.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much just even a couple years can change something.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, look, friends, her name might be Samantha, but this is not, our lives are not an episode of Bewitched. She doesn't just, wiggle her nose and whatever we want appears.
No.
This life has to teach us all that we have to work towards it. But the it is up to you.
That's right.
But
Absolutely.
you're going to have to go through it to get to it. So there's really no way around that. And you're going to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
In this life, the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that, until you finally get it.
Right.
And go, I get it. So, yeah, for me, is taking that blind leap and just going, man, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to treat this like this is my only chance.
Right. Do you know who empowers me? And you might think that this is weird. Lizzo. She empowers me.
She's a great example.
Do you know why? If you don't know who Lizzo is, she's a rapper, songwriter, flutist. She's African American. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She was on Tyler Henry. I don't know if you remember when we watched that episode.
I remember, yeah.
She did play the flute on Tyler Henry.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. But she is very empowering for women. She's a big girl.
Yeah.
And she loves herself and she loves her body. And she writes songs about men and the things that happen to women that pretty much every woman, I think, can relate to. But telling you a little bit about Lizzo, because she was an example I wanted to use here. So she's 33 years old right now. Okay. She, at 21, her father died and she was living in her car because she had nowhere to live. Okay.
Wow.
And now you're looking at, this. So this was 21. So this was 12 years ago. She is now up for 8 Grammy nominations.
Mm-hmm.
she has done so much in just a little bit over 10 years. She's such an inspiration. But something that, if you didn't watch that Tyler Henry episode, you might not know, is that she's been guided this whole time by her father who died.
Yeah.
She's listened to the signs. She's watched the universe. She's watched how it's unfolded for her and how it's pushed her, and she's listened and she's taken the path that it's pushed her down. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because now you can see exactly where it's taken you, and that she was like turned down many times. I mean, like most musicians are, you know, she has a long history of playing in different places and this, that.
Right.
And then now she finally made it after living in her car, after having nothing. It's amazing. She's an inspiration.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Somebody else that, you know, and some people might not like this person, but Anthony Robbins. I used to think the guy was such a sham. But you know what? I totally buy it. Like, the guy was the same thing, homeless, on drugs, and he just made a choice.
Yeah.
He just one day said, I got to do this different.
Right.
And now he makes so much. He's been doing this for years, like seminars,
Right.
where he's sharing this. And outside of a business sense, a lot of what he talks about is more just the empowerment within yourself of your own, changing your thought process.
Yes. That's exactly right. That's, yep.
And I buy it.
I do too.
It's worked for me.
It's worked for me. It's worked for you. I mean, we've seen the changes that when you do start to try and think positively and, you know, make those changes in your life and start working towards what you want, you can get there. Yeah. You're your own worst enemy. You're the only one that's holding you back.
Absolutely.
And that's what I like about Tony Robbins, is that's exactly what he does. He empowers you to use what's inside you to break free.
Yeah,
basically.
He does. And I've never even been to one of his seminars. I've never really even, I know about him. I had dated somebody that used to go see his stuff, and that's when I used to think, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I think I read one of his books like years ago, but I've seen him in a couple different things. But he is very motivational, very empowering. He has that almost like, you're going to do this. You know, okay, I'll do it. Fine.
Yeah.
He's
like
me.
A gentle giant, you know?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So let's see. So how do we go into 2020 with the intention of changing things? Like, okay, so we've said, let's change them. Let's work at them, right? How? Well, I think one of the most important things is not to have expectations. Like, if you set your expectations too high, you're just going to fail yourself. Start by setting small goals. Don't, you know, like, let's say, I don't know, you just finished college and you want the job of your dreams, whatever that may be. If there's going to be some steps that you're going to need to take in there. So don't set your expectations of that the dream job is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Focus on those small steps that you can make to get to that dream job, right? Stop saying, I can't. This is a huge one. Because when you tell yourself something like that, you're actually telling yourself something like that. You're making yourself believe, I can't do this.
Right.
How can I do this? This isn't possible. And I'm not preaching, because I still do it when things come up. I never in a million years would have thought that I would be able to do the things I can today. And I'm sure everywhere along the line, I said I can't.
Right.
But when you're done saying I can't and you start saying, okay, I can, that's when things change. Right?
For sure.
Yeah. You have to understand that bad's going to happen. I think people want, and I'm one of them, that want to believe that everything's going to be okay. Everything, 3 weeks from now, everything's going to be fine. And it's going to stay that way. But life is a roller coaster. So when those bad things happen and we have those dips, we have to remember that it's not a permanent situation. Even though it feels sometimes like it's a permanent situation, it's not.
Yep.
Everything changes. Everything. So what's happening today isn't necessarily what's going to be tomorrow and the next day.
Right. And, you know, you could take last week's episode in those kind of moments to get out of yourself.
Right.
When you feel like you've got the worst problems in the world, think about sitting in a room with everybody and everybody writing their problems down in a hat, pass it around, everybody picks a new problem. Samantha's grandmother used to say.
Yeah, he just says the short version. He's like, just put it in a hat and send it around.
Her grandmother used to say, most likely you're going to pick a problem and want your problem
You're
back.
going to want your problem back.
So It's getting out of yourself, being selfless for a moment, when those things become overwhelming, like you're talking about.
Right.
I think being kind and just kind of taking a moment to get out can help you.
Absolutely. I think we also have to remember, we've talked about this briefly, is that everything takes time.
You got to build it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. So be patient. Be patient with yourself and with the process. And something that I have learned is that the universe loves to test you. So just when you think everything's going along nice and smoothly, the universe is like, kablam!
Yeah.
Here's a test. Because they want to see what you're going to do with it. So when those tests come along, whatever it is, you have to find that self-control to show the universe that I'm not falling for your tricks. It's not easy. I find myself in it a lot. We were talking about this earlier today, that if we have an argument now, afterwards, I get a breakdown of everything I did wrong in the argument from my mother. I'm like, really?
That's why I'm glad I'm not a psychic.
Dude, you have no idea. Like, I get it. I understand she's trying to change me. She's, my mom made me this kind of person that I am to a certain extent. She put these bad things in me. She's trying to remove them. I understand. But it is a lot to have somebody sit there and point out all of these things, because then I want to come to you and go, well, here's your list too. But I can't. I don't even know where I was going with this anymore. But yeah, these are the interesting things that happen. So let's see. Moving on. It says let go. How do we let go? So now we've made the decision. We're going to let go. We want to work on some things. How do we do that? You have to make the decision to let it go, whatever it is that's holding you back. Okay. So if you have something emotionally that's holding you back, maybe I don't want to use the death of a loved one, but I'm going to use it because after a while, you do have to kind of move on from it. They want us to move on from it. And maybe that's why it was given to me as an example.
Yeah. Too much grief can keep their energy grounded here, too.
Yes.
So if they have too many family members grieving and wishing they weren't gone, it actually can keep them from progressing.
Yes.
Forward on the other side. They're always connected to this side, but they need to go rest first.
Yeah.
And then know what their next job is, what their next lesson, duty, whatever it is. So grieving is important.
Yes.
It's important for the human, not the spirit. Okay.
Right. Valid point.
So it is important. Take your time to do that, but trust that you don't need to feel guilty when you finally decide it's okay to stop.
Right.
That they're not judging you because you don't cry every day anymore.
Right.
No. They want you to celebrate not only their life, their memory, but they now understand what a gift is, how much this life is a gift, excuse me. From that side, they have a way better perspective of what a gift this really is. So if they were to tell you anything, don't waste your time grieving and being sad and angry. Don't do that. Use the time wisely and you will benefit from that. And the others around you will benefit from that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I've been through it myself. When my mom died, I was a mess for like 3 years. I could not let go of it. But some of the things that you were saying, it was exactly what I was doing. I was like, well, if I let it go, then it's not remembering her.
You can't do that.
No. And I didn't know that then. And I know that now, that they don't want us to do that because it's only like this life is really only a flash of time. So for them, they're going to see us really soon. We're going to be there a lot sooner than what it may feel for us. And they see us all the time anyways, so it's completely different for them. It's hard for me when people say, do my loved ones miss me? Because, well, I guess it's a different kind of miss. It's the missing of the interaction, but they're actually here watching what's going on.
Right.
So it's like they can't miss you in that way because they know what's going on, I
mean, you're lucky because you have a relationship with your mom because you're a medium. You can communicate with her. A lot of people can't do that. Yes. So it might be easier. You're listening to us going, oh yeah, whatever. Okay. That just stop grieving, stop being sad every time I think of my mom or bring her name up or my dad or whoever it was that has crossed over. However, just because emotion comes when you think of them or you say their name, that isn't necessarily your body or your mind telling you, you haven't grieved enough.
Right.
You need to go in there and cry some more,
yeah.
damn it. No, that's them putting their hand on you.
Right.
They're connected to you. They're letting you know. It's hard for us to decipher where that rush of emotion comes from when all of a sudden you think of them or say their name. Right. It's literally them putting their arms around you and like, I'm right here.
It is. Yep. And I'd like to point out that I did not know I was a medium when my mom died.
True.
I did not know I was a medium when my grandma died. But something about grief is that there is a level and a scale of grief. And so your grieving process, everybody's is going to be different. Like for my mom, like I said, it took me about 3 years, which I feel was extreme. And if I wish that I wouldn't have wasted that much time stuck in that grief. My grandmother she was 87 years old and we were waiting. And so it was a relief. Did I grieve her? Yeah. Do I still miss her and grieve her? Yeah, I do. But it wasn't anything like that. So you can see how there's a scale here, so everybody's not going to heal on the same level. You have to judge your level by what you're going through, but there does come a point where you have to let go and say, they're happy on the other side. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be happy here. And then one day we're going to be happy together again.
Yeah.
Don't stop living your life here because they're not here.
Yeah.
If anything, like you said, they want us to be happy and live an amazing life.
A good example of that is I have a longtime friend who lost their daughter to an overdose. And I couldn't imagine what she's going through.
No.
And to bury your child before you. So something kept bugging me. Like you need to message this. You need to message her.
Yeah.
You need to tell her about your wife and offer something. And, not only is it new for the person that's passed, they're typically, in that situation are resting. So they're not.
Yeah, it's very fresh.
Yeah, it's fresh. So they're resting. They're kind of not super available. And obviously, maybe the person that's mourning may not be totally ready.
I mean, when we say fresh, we're talking like a month, right? Like
yeah.
Not even that.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
We like to give them usually like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. But I kept feeling pushed. And I've had this happen a couple times. I did this for another friend of mine that lost her husband.
Yeah.
And then connected her to you, and it kind of worked out cool.
Yeah.
But it was another one of those where they're tapping me on the shoulder and like they won't leave me alone.
Right.
So I said something to Samantha like thinking about messaging this person. I don't know why, I just keep feeling compelled. And so I did. And it was so amazing because the first thing she said was, "That's so crazy because I've been thinking about contacting a medium somehow to see if this would help me, Yeah. And so I was just trying to reassure her she's totally okay.
Yeah.
And when the time is right, if you're ready, if you want,
right,
that the offer's there.
Yeah.
So that part was it felt good. It felt like that tap on the shoulder.
Yes, follow that.
I didn't ignore it.
No, that was good.
That I could pass some peace and understanding and hope or whatever it is on to somebody that's, God, man, I couldn't even imagine the level of grief there,
Right.
But we all love, we have people we love, and we all lose people.
Yeah.
So, but don't forget that this is a gift.
Absolutely.
And they don't want us to lie down and quit.
And if you can't get yourself out of it, coming to a medium is definitely a good option. Like for this lady you're talking about, it's a good place to start. It's not going to stop her grief, but it will allow her to know that her daughter is okay. Mm. But for me, I could not move on. And I did. I went to a medium, and with that medium's help, I could, because I was able to say to my mom the things I needed to say. So that's why I really love my job so much. It's like some people just love the novelty of it, and they're just like, ooh, connect to the spirits, which is fun. I love to do it. Don't get me wrong. But I love to be able to heal that relationship, to put those two entities together and heal
man.
it.
That's such a miracle. It's so to be a part of that,
Yeah.
just to see somebody, to know that you were able to offer something to somebody that could help them.
Right.
You know, so I can't do that all the time. I'm glad that I'm getting better at not ignoring those
Right.
and going, "God, what are you thinking of? That's insane. Why would anybody do that?" You know, those are the thoughts that usually pan out for something.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how many times in just this last year I have been pushed and turned into a different direction that I wasn't planning on going.
Right.
Or something I wasn't planning on doing. And I did it, and it's, you know, it's just shown me that that's them. It's not just them. It's me allowing to listen and recognize.
Yes. And the more that you recognize, the more they give you, right? Like the more, even little tips throughout your day. And the more, like those things you were talking about, the little tap on the shoulder, the more you listen to those, I don't want to say they reward you, but they kind of do because you're listening. So it's like positive reinforcement, you know. I don't usually know what it is that, you know, maybe they're reinforcing me with. Just that feeling of satisfaction, I think, is enough.
Right.
Like the other day I was picking up some dog bones, and as I was walking out of this pet supply store, there was a ringneck bird sitting by the front door, and I immediately felt that he was cold. And so I know one of the girls that works in the store, and she knows that I'm an animal communicator. So I felt the little tap. You need to go tell Sue that bird's cold and to please move it. I was like, bah, come on. I don't want to, you don't want to, I don't know. Right. For me, it's still hard, but I did it. And so that bird's comfortable now because I took the steps to make it a better situation. So when you hear those types of things, those little taps on your shoulder, listen to them, because you just never know who you might help or what you might change, whether, even if it's an animal like that, maybe you don't get confirmation, you know, that bird isn't cold anymore, but I know that he's not cold anymore. Right. Do you know what I mean? I did that for him. Right. So you make those small steps.
For sure.
Help. Yeah. So what else do I have? A couple of things on the letting go. I'm really I got emotional with this episode, so I'm all snotty now. I know that they're talking through me when I get emotional for no stupid reason. All they hear. Okay.
I'm just trying to laugh. Every time I laugh, I want to cough. So
I know, you poor thing.
Not to.
I know.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going around. So I appreciate you stepping in and doing this, because I was like, oh man, he might not even want to do it
I'm
when
not
he doesn't
that
feel
bad,
good.
but
No. Later he might be, but hopefully not. Let's see. So what else can we do to let go? One of the things that I think is important is expressing your pain, getting it out. We were talking about this earlier today too.
Acknowledging it.
Yes. If you keep it repressed inside of yourself, if you're try to pretend that it didn't happen or that it didn't affect you the way that it did, it will eat a hole inside of you.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of us that don't want to accept the things that happen to us as kids or whatever. And we repress them. And we want to believe that, you know, it's not our fault or it's this or whatever. You have to address those. Yeah. And once you address those and you let them go, it's so freeing. But until you accept that these are things that have happened, and how do you let them go?
Right.
So you have to let your emotions out, whether it's by yourself, to a therapist, to your spouse, whatever. Write it down. That's a great way too. If you have things that you need to say to somebody, but you can't, write them a letter. You don't have to send it, but at least you're getting it out. At least you're getting it down on paper, and then you can rip it up and throw it away. You can burn it, or you can send it to them. You know, you never know.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm talking old school here because I'm write a letter.
That's a great way to even go into 2020 with, okay, let's say you have put all these things down or what you need to let go of, you've done. And now how do I know my plan to move forward and go after those dreams, those goals, those aspirations? Write them down.
Right. That's
baby
exactly
steps.
Right. Yep.
You don't have to go for the super duper best thing right off the bat. I mean, 6 years ago, this band was not even half the band.
No.
That this band is now.
A year ago, it wasn't half the band.
It's been a building. It's been a building process.
It all takes time.
So, yeah. I mean, and that's every time. I'm glad I have that to reflect on.
Right. Something else I wrote was stop being a victim.
Yep.
Because a lot of us, we have been through situations where we were the victim. But you know what? Those situations are over.
Yeah.
And you have to put them behind you and move on. You can't dwell in the past. This is something that we talk about a lot, is that we both had childhoods that were not so wonderful. But you can do with that what you choose. You can use your experiences to be a pain in everyone's ass. Or you can use your experience to help people. I've chose to use my experiences to help people. And I know that that's one reason why I'll be writing books, is because my experiences in my life, I think, will help people.
Oh, yeah.
But I could have chose at any time to not go down that road and use those experiences as an excuse.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that phrase so much. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
No, bad things happen to all people.
Everybody.
So just because you see some guy on the freeway next to you driving a Ferrari and he looks like he's probably a CEO and makes, $300,000 a year, doesn't mean that the guy hasn't been through hell in his life at some point, and doesn't mean he didn't work his way to that spot. Right. That's where he wants to be. That's not necessarily where I want to be.
You're very right.
But I didn't walk a year or a day or a decade in that guy's shoes, so I don't have a clue. We have to stop judging and comparing our lives to our neighbors when we're totally different.
That is a great point. Absolutely. Because we are all different, and our goals are totally different from other people's goals. People may look at us as, these two spiritualists with their podcasts and their music, they're crazy. Those hippies.
That's fine.
That's what we want to live. We don't want to live in some big hoity-toity mansion with boats and Land Rovers and whatnot.
And when you're doing that,
that's
it's affecting your ego, and then your ego acts victimized.
Right.
So
exactly.
You got to stop that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's such a valid point in any way that you look at it, because people, they always compare, well, they have this and I don't have this and this and that. No, we all have our own things, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Yep. Don't judge your neighbor by what they have. Judge them. Well, don't judge them at all. But I guess if you have to judge them by who they are as a person, how they treat people. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Something else on the moving on and letting go is forgiving yourself and the person if there's somebody else that's been involved in whatever it is that's holding you back that you can't let go of. You have to forgive yourself in any situation, because sometimes I think that we, even in where we may be the victim entirely, we still sometimes hold things against ourselves. Well, if I would have done this differently, if I would have done this, you have to let go of that, because you can't go back and change the past.
Yeah.
It's just a part of your past that is moving you on to your future.
Yeah, that didn't shape your future.
Right.
It was just situations, and you're right. You gotta forgive yourself.
Yep.
Before you can forgive anybody else.
Well, and holding on to anger for other people too isn't healthy. I've talked about that, I have a kind of family member on the other side that has apologized for things that happened in my childhood. It would have been very hard for me before the spiritual awakening to accept the apology, because I looked at it differently. I looked at what that situation did to me instead of what I learned from it. And instead of the fact that, okay, maybe when I set up my life, I set up for that to happen because I needed to learn something from it, or I needed to help somebody, because with the things that happened to me, I have already helped people. So I have forgiven him, and I have let it go, so that he can be free over there and I can be free over here. It's not worth holding on to. What difference does it make? We're talking 35 years ago,
Right.
You got to let it go.
Yep, you do.
You got to move on. Forgive yourself, forgive them. And really, I think most importantly is you have to focus on the now. Just one day at a time.
Yep.
Take one day at a time. In this, I have really been, and I think Danny has too, I know he has, that we're very much we want it right now.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't always focus on the now. We focus on a year from now, 5 years from now, which, of course, you want to keep a good outlook, because what you do today could possibly affect 10 years from now.
Yeah, goals. Having goals is fine.
Your goals, those kinds of things. But other than that, you really, you have to focus in the now. Focus on today, what you're going to do today to make tomorrow better. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's easy to get wrapped up in, I got this appointment and I got that commitment and I got this, and just do each day what's in front of you.
Yes.
And spend less time thinking about 5 days from now and just enjoy what's happening and the work that you're putting in towards it, because you're going to get, most likely you're going to get to the 5 days from now.
Right.
Or 10 days and months and weeks and years, and then you're going to be able to look back with, those retrospect glasses on and be like, I see. Yeah. That would have been impossible for me to pull off if I didn't do all that.
That's exactly right. And some of our most horrific experiences, really, we wouldn't be in a good place that we are now if we wouldn't have been through some of those horrific experiences. Right. I'm not saying celebrate them when you're smack dab in the middle of them. What I'm saying is know that they don't last and things do get better. Yeah. And 2020 is coming, and bye-bye to the teens, because this has been a weird decade.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
I mean, I keep saying this every year. This is going to be it. This is my year.
This is it.
2020 is it. I'm saying it again.
Yeah.
But it is. It's going to, things are, I was saying it previously without the work behind me.
Yes.
And so now I can look back in hindsight and go, okay, there's something that's been built and will continue to build on it.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like this is the year.
Yeah. I agree with you. And something like, I've done the same thing every year. I'm like, this is it. This is my year. But what was it my year for?
Right.
Like, I look back and I think about, like, okay, well, I said this is going to be the year that, I'm going to be rich and famous? Mm-hmm. No. You got to be realistic. Yeah. If your expectations are like, you know, we're going to be getting off a private jet
no, that's
somewhere.
not what I mean by that.
Right.
I just mean that I will have reached some of my big goals, Yeah. So,
no,
but every year has their heartbreak and every year has their victories.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And so let's all go into 2020 trying to let go of the past decade and past year and move on with a fresh start and say, we're going to achieve our goals, whatever they may be. We're going to do it. We're going to work on it.
Absolutely. Yep. Let's try to go out there and maybe, take some of that holiday spirit that everybody gets all mushy about and try to extend that out, through the rest of the year and be kind to each other and help each other achieve these goals and lift each other up, encourage each other to follow those dreams and those gifts and those talents or the signs of that are being shown to you,
right,
to lead you to a happier life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean money, it just means happier.
Exactly.
It could mean money, but I'm just saying happier.
Yep.
For me, that's the most important thing.
Me too.
So.
Yep. Health and happiness.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what we wish for all of our listeners going into 2020.
Yep.
Peace and love and happiness.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Yay.
Good one.
That was good. We were like a quarter of a way through it, and I was like, this sucks. But I knew that eventually they were going to kick in, and it was going to start to make sense. I was like, when's this going to make sense? Because I felt like we were just going to philos-o-chatter. Because this is kind of what we do. We just kind of like go back and forth, and maybe it doesn't make sense at one point. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think that there were a lot of things that came out of that episode that were for people, and that they will pick them up, and that I hope you take them with you into 2020.
And if it didn't, then you caught an episode of philos-o-chatter.
Then sorry, wah,
it's all in the
wah.
title.
Then you don't want to come hang out with us because that's what it's like in our house.
That's funny.
Sorry for our snots and our coughs, and it's, yeah.
Cool. Well, before we say goodbye to everybody, do you want to share your page?
Sure. So you can find out whatever you want to know about me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com, my blog. I did put a new blog up last week, and I do hope to have another one up by the end of the year. It's just been so busy.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. And if you like me and my art and music, check me out on the web, djonesartcollection.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at djonesartcollection, gypsybrown.com on the web for the music, and Instagram, Gypsy Brown, at Gypsy Brown Music. Did you want to throw out your idea for next week now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, because I actually should maybe post it now to get it going.
Right.
So next week we're going to do like a question and answer thing. If there's anything over the last, we've been doing this for how long? 9 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the episodes, like questions that you have about them, anything we didn't cover in those, we're going to do like a question and answer thing. So send us your questions. spiritualjoneses@gmail.com.
Cool. So any question from any episode or anything that you want to ask.
Anything you got, just send it our way.
So please, because if you don't, we're going to have a soundtrack of a cricket just going.
Yeah.
I'm
not worried about
kidding.
that.
I'm not gonna do that.
I'll go fishing for them. I'll find you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make you answer.
Yeah. I'll be DMing you on Facebook. You watch. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, everybody.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. And happy holidays again.
Yes. Happy holidays. Hope you guys have a good, safe one. We appreciate you tuning in and listening and taking the time out to do so. And until next week, peace and love.